Hello and welcome to episode 299 of Sutton and Back Family Style. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill, and I can't imagine a better college football playoff than we had on Saturday.
No, that was two awesome games.
Two awesome games. And I hate Michigan, so it was really special for me. And I really liked the underdog story of TCU. And so that game, I just loved that game. And I thought, okay, and I was glued to the TV. In fact, I paid the piper when I went to Stretch Lab today because I sat on my ass for 10 hours on Saturday and didn't move.
Yeah, that'll do it to you.
That was tough. But when I watched the TCU-Michigan game, I thought, there's no way the Ohio State-Georgia game could be even half this good.
No.
And I was so happy to be wrong.
It was almost a better game.
They were both just fantastic games.
It's a bummer, like we said, the Ohio State kid that missed the field goal. That's always,
It is. That's a bummer.
You don't like seeing, you'd rather see a great play win the game the other way as opposed to, the less than great way lose it on national TV. It's always,
Yeah. But it was, and we talked on the show, I mentioned that I'd watched TCU a bunch of times this year, and I said they were a team of destiny. They were just, it makes no sense, but they're ridiculous. And they get down and they come back and they win. It just doesn't matter who they play. And everybody said Michigan would run over them, and I didn't know if they would or they wouldn't. I just knew that I wasn't worried even if they got down a couple touchdowns because I knew they had that firepower.
Yeah, well, Michigan,
it was fun to see that kind of offense.
Yeah, the pick sixes against Michigan didn't help.
No. Not when you get two.
Yeah. I don't know about the touchdown or no touchdown call. That was,
The one where he was on his butt?
Yeah, that was very close.
And they fumbled afterwards?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of thought it was a touchdown.
I mean, that feels like one of those, is it art? When you see it, like, it was like the Devontae Adams catch that we'll get to with an amazing Raiders game. It was actually a fun game to watch where he made another insane catch where you're like, even if that scraped the ground, I'm like, he caught that ball.
Yeah, no question. But this was, that call was a tough call.
Yeah.
And I could live with that call either way because I thought that's a touchdown. But then I thought, well, they'll score in the next play anyhow. And then lo and behold, they did.
No.
And that's a big turning point in the game.
It's a monstrous turning point. So now we get TCU, and I don't know what the underdog rate, but they're probably a touchdown underdog to Georgia, right?
I would think they'll be at least 6.5 points.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. And if I was betting, I would bet on Georgia. They just have a lot of talent on that team. And some just monstrous guys.
You know what? I think TCU's going to win.
It would be fun to see.
The reason I think they're going to win is I was not impressed with the Georgia secondary.
No.
At all.
Ringo was a prospective top 10 pick going into the season, and he's been sort of a disappointment at corner.
And number one for TCU could have a field day against that team.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
They say he's the number one receiver off the board. We'll have to see.
Yeah, they said it's either him, and I guess they love the kid at Tennessee that just destroyed Alabama for 5 touchdowns. But with him, they're a little worried about his spindly body that looks like Kevin Durant playing football. Or Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, this guy for TCU.
Yeah.
He's the real deal. And Duggan, whatever they would call him, I thought he was a stud. I thought he's been a stud all year.
Yeah.
I don't know who he reminds me of. I was trying to think.
Kenny Pickett.
He's a bulldozer kind of a quarterback.
He is. But not like a Tebow-y bulldozer.
No, because he could throw.
Yeah. I mean, then you're thinking...
Those were two great games, very enjoyable. I'm sure I haven't seen the ratings yet. The ratings are going to be off the charts, and they'll be the best ever. And now you have this, there's no doubt those are the 4 best teams.
Yeah.
Which I like whenever you come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
I wonder what 12 is going to look like because you probably got a much higher risk of getting a blowout in the first couple games.
Oh, I think without a doubt. I mean, like we said, it doesn't usually line up this cleanly, but it was hard to argue these weren't the 4 best teams. Like, number 5 was a distant number 5. And then they showed out in this series, so it's, 12 is a lot. It's like, I thought 6 was perfect, or 8, but 12 it's a lot of teams. Especially when you're still touting yourself as student athletes and student, before. That's why we can't do all this stuff because of a student. 12 is a lot. And I guess now a little NFL?
Yeah, let's go a little NFL. There were some real surprises yesterday. And let me start off with the Packers and the Vikings.
Yeah.
Because on the show last week, I said, I guess I've got to start believing in the Vikings. Because I put them down every week, right?
We did all season.
And I did all season saying they're not that good. It's the Steelers from a couple years ago when they were 11-0. And then yesterday, I have no idea how they get hammered like that again.
Just crushed.
When they lose, they get crushed.
And Justin Jefferson had 1 catch for 15 yards.
And that blows me away. I can't even believe that happened.
And
they didn't have much in the Dallas game either. The same thing.
No, and Jai Alexander came out and talked crap about Justin Jefferson before that game. So he put him on notice and then backed it up, which is always impressive to see.
Yeah, and as much as Aaron Rodgers drives me crazy, I mean, he's been cocky for 5 weeks now, and it looks like he's going to be right.
Yeah. Well, like he said,
although the Lions-Packers game is going to be my game to watch this weekend.
Oh, that's super exciting. But if the Packers win, they're in. So.
Yep.
And now the Eagles have to play. I guess we can just stay NFC. The Eagles have to continue to win because they've lost 2 straight.
And the 49ers could end up with home field advantage.
Yeah. It could be the 49ers, the Cowboys, or the Eagles after the Eagles look like they were just running away with it all.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. Wow. Well, I guess shout out to Tampa Bay for winning that division, right?
Yeah. And if they win this week, they'll actually have a winning record, right?
Yeah, they're sitting at 8-8. My pick for the Super Bowl from the NFC, sadly, they came in second in that. It's 7-9, the New Orleans Saints. So, once again, mea culpa on that was a bad one on my call.
Although, the New Orleans Saints beat the Eagles this week, and who would have picked that?
I know.
Not me.
No, it's been very weird.
And then we see these teams when they play the Steelers. So we saw the Panthers,
yeah.
We saw the Saints, and we saw the Raiders. And here you go. Unreal.
Well, I guess as we get to the AFC, let's just have our Steeler moment. They can make the playoffs still, somehow. They need a lot of help, but...
If the Jets can beat the Dolphins, right?
Yeah. And the Bills...
Depending on...
And the Bills have to beat the Patriots.
Yeah. And the Jets-Dolphins, that could be a horrible... It's 2 teams you thought were going to be in the playoffs.
Well, it might be Sky whatever at quarterback, too, so...
Yeah.
I don't think you put Tua back out there no matter what happens concussion-wise right now, right?
No, I don't either. I don't think you put Tua back out there. I think you're risking his livelihood, his life, everything else. I think it's a bad move.
And your team has lost...
That said, the Dolphins have made some bad moves. So
yeah. I was like, they've lost 5 straight games, and they have a negative point differential. So, not great for the Fins.
I'm hoping Mike White has a big game and can recover from... I'm sure he was a little bit rusty last week, and that was part of it.
And the rumor is he still has some rib issues, so that can't help either.
So, interesting. I mean, really, really interesting. The Niners, Brock Purdy's undefeated.
Yeah. The Chiefs and the Chargers look really good in their division.
Chiefs and the Chargers keep winning.
The
Chiefs had a scare with the Broncos.
Yeah. My bet that I thought I had lost when I bet Jacksonville to win that division, now is a good chance of actually happening.
Oh, who they play? They play somebody not very good either.
I think they play the Titans.
Oh, they play the Titans. That's right. The Titans are really going the other way.
Yeah. So if the Titans win, the Titans are in the playoffs, which nobody wants to see. And if the Jaguars are in, then you get Trevor Lawrence and this young Jags team, which I do want to see.
I do want to see. And I guess I'm pretty thankful the Steelers didn't draft Malik Willis.
No,
At least right now.
You and I are both, we both are rooting for Kenny Pickett constantly. And he had another game-winning drive where he made, like people said on the announcer, he was like, don't take this the wrong way, Sports National people, but the play that he just made was a very Patrick Mahomes-like play, and it really was. That's who you think of, the play that Kenny Pickett threw a touchdown on, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have said.
Spinning out the wrong way, keeping your head downfield, and then rifling in a ball in between two defenders and Najee Harris is about as Mahomes as you get after breaking out of a sack. So
yeah, I didn't think Kenny had that big of a gun.
No,
He's got a strong arm.
Yeah, he throws a nice ball. And again, as we pointed out before, we both wanted to see more definitive answers at quarterback from the beginning of the year, and maybe they're in a different position. But the fact that they could be in the playoffs is pretty impressive. But I mean, the Bills are in.
It's very impressive. It's very impressive. To start off 2-6, and you know what? I think they'll win for no other reason in that they don't want Tomlin to have a lose. They don't want to be the team that had the losing record for Tomlin.
No, and they're at home. They've got the momentum. Deshaun Watson's looked pretty bad. And the Steelers seem to have found some kind of formula a little bit. Right?
Yeah, I mean, the rush for almost 200 yards.
Play defense, run the football. And Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, that was the best Najee Harris game we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, he was...
Absolutely, he was incredible.
Just absolutely incredible.
It was Derrick Henry-esque.
Yeah, and if you go back and watch, there's a key play on a third down quarterback sneak where Kenny Pickett's in the wrong hole. Najee Harris grabs him by the waist, pulls him to the other side, and pushes him over for the first down. So,
yeah.
I mean, mentally and physically, just an incredible play on his part.
And Jalen Warren might be the best free agent signing of all the players that didn't get drafted this year.
I think he might be. Well, one, it's sort of amazing that a running back with his track record in a Big 12 school, who's as good of a blocker, would not end up on like the Patriots, or one of those really well coached. I mean, I know they got Pacheco, but like he would have been the perfect chief. Running draws and Patrick Mahomes leaking out and catching passes. He's a really good receiver too for a little guy.
And he hits the hole hard. Yeah.
But what gets him on the field is he's a great pass protector.
Yeah.
He's like a little spark plug, but he's he knows what to do.
He can run, he can catch, and he can block. And he knows the playbook. Hey, let's stay in the NFL here. And who would have thought? Let's see. This is January.
It is 2023.
January 2023, and right now, it looks like Baker Mayfield might be reclaimed. He's definitely worth a shot to keep with the Rams.
Well, especially if you're bringing back a tissuey.
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
And then Sam Darnold. I watched him yesterday. He looks like better than I've ever seen him play.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the most complicated positions that's more roster dependent on everybody else and scheme dependent and play calls. Like people develop at different ages.
Yeah.
But
so I guess we'll have to see where the latest bad Jets draft pick ends up next year. He's not going to be in New York.
No. And we skipped over the other great New York story, which is the Giants at 9-6, in the playoffs, with different wide receivers and different offensive linemen every week, and they just, it looks like a coach came in that knew how to coach.
And Daniel Jones, I think, got almost 100 yards rushing.
Yeah, and you had a coach that was like, "Oh, this is what you do good? Cool, I'm going to do that with you," and then all of a sudden they start winning games.
Well, I'm going to make my Tom Brady prediction for 2023.
Okay.
He's a Raider.
You think?
That's what I'm thinking.
Well,
it's Josh McDaniel.
Mm-hmm.
got great skill players.
You do, especially if they bring back Josh Jacobs.
You got a good defense. I don't know. It just makes too much sense to me.
How about this? He and Sean Payton come hang out in New Orleans for one more year.
I heard that too. I just saw that today.
I mean, this is closer to his kids than Vegas. Because the kids are East Coast kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got to have somebody to share avocado ice cream with. And he doesn't have Giselle anymore, so... He only has his kids and probably hundreds of thousands of models that would desire to still be with him. But that's about it. So...
I think when it's all said and done, he's going to go where he thinks he can get back to the Super Bowl quickest.
Yeah.
And then nothing else is going to get in the way of that decision.
No.
That's why I think the Raiders are the perfect spot for him, but we'll see.
Well, when you look at teams that have potential openings, you got the Patriots, because Mac Jones is not great. You got the Dolphins, because Tua, who knows what Tua is. And you've got the Jets, who have Mike White and Zach Wilson and the poo-poo platter. So that's 3 destinations right there, right?
Right.
Then you'd have potentially Tennessee, Indy, Houston, but he probably wouldn't want any of those.
Yep.
The Raiders. I bet Denver would like to have an opening, but they don't. I don't see him going to the Washington Commanders, right?
See, the Raiders are going to be financially in a position to be able to throw him right in there. And it's funny. I forget, Rex Ryan and Ryan Clark were talking about Derek Carr today.
Yeah.
And he's got a clause that if anything happens between now and then, if he's working out or whatever it is on the Raiders' premises, that they have to pay him. So Ryan Clark said he'd have slipped and fell before he left the Raiders' office that day.
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk a tiny bit of NBA? We've had some incredible performances by Jokic, Jason Tatum. LeBron went off on his birthday. Like, there's been some great individual performances. But I was just thinking about, because we're at the mid-season point almost, and just how much a role narrative plays in MVP voting. Because you look at 2 of probably the best players in the NBA this year. Jokic, who would be a 3-time NBA MVP in a row, and Kevin Durant, who isn't the media's favorite person. They're both playing at top 2, top 3 MVP level things. But do you think the narrative behind both those stories would prevent them from whether they deserved it or not?
Yeah, I think the story that people like is the Luka story.
Yeah.
And I think they like the John Morant story, but the John Morant story is not as good as the Luka story.
No, but I mean, you look at Brooklyn Nets, they're a game back of the Celtics for the best record in the East, and Kevin Durant's balling out of his mind. But I feel like all the ill will for that Nets team, with the Kyrie stink, the Kevin Durant comments, everything else, like, I just don't see him getting it, even if he deserves another one.
And I always think likability is a factor.
Yeah, and I know people love Jokic, but you've got a guy who's putting up absurd stats this year. His team is the best record in the West, tied for the best, or he's 2 games back of the best record in all of the NBA, but people are like, he can't win 3 in a row.
But it's also, you get the Spurs thing going on there. That team is not a team that the NBA or the networks put any emphasis behind.
No.
So it's a story that nobody knows about. Whereas Luka at least gets, he's on SportsCenter every freaking night.
Yeah. And I know he's got the Mavs in 4th place in the East right. I know we're, in the West, so it's like, things are up and down, but change every day, but it's something.
And I still go back to the fact when I was working with the Suns, and we were just having a conversation before the draft, and I said I would take Luka, and they took Ayton. Imagine Luka on the Suns. That team would have won a world championship by now.
Oh, yeah. And then you just look at the volatility of the NBA. I have one awesome parlay for over-unders on the season, and all of them are on pace to hit in this parlay, except for one team. Do you know what team it is? It looks like they may not hit their mark. Golden State.
Yeah, Golden State, only if they play at home.
I thought Golden State was the gimme of all those. I picked Sacramento to go over, Orlando to go over. Like, I had a bunch of teams, and I had this giant parlay that was going to pay it. But it's like the one team that looks like they're going to stop that parlay from hitting might be Golden State, despite all that time, even with the Steph Curry injury. You know?
Yeah, you're right.
Because something is just real off with them this year.
Yeah, but you know what? It is January, so I wouldn't write that bet off yet.
No, but I mean, they'd have to get really hot and go on a huge streak.
Yeah,
which could happen, obviously.
It could happen. I mean, if anybody could do it, that team could do it.
And then I guess a quick update: Brady is playing this week, despite being a zillion years old and not needing to win. So.
Yeah, they've got nothing. Well, I don't know if there's anybody that could actually take a snap. I mean, has Cal Trask ever taken a snap?
I don't. It's hard to imagine he has now.
I would play him just to see what I have.
And
I think it's obvious Brady's not coming back next year to Tampa.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't want to play.
I want to see what I got.
I do, but I'm not playing Mike Williams this week. I want to put him in like bubble wrap.
Yeah.
And be like, we need you for the first game of the playoffs, no matter what, at the very least. So we're wrapping you up, and you're not going anywhere. Poor Mike Williams.
Mike Evans was ridiculous this week too.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Was that people were saying, like, Mike Evans had been disappointing in fantasy all year. Sorry, fantasy anti-people. But Mike Williams has 3 touchdowns over 200 yards. And then the number 1 receiver in fantasy, Justin Jefferson, got you 1 catch for 14 yards.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones went off for 4 touchdowns. Like, it was a weird week.
I'm excited about the game tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And it's in Cincinnati. I just have a hard time. Joe Burrow is so hot right now. I got a hard time picking against him.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but I have more faith in Joe Burrow than I do Josh Allen. Like, if Joe Burrow had the ball, 80 yards to go, minute and a half, 1 timeout, I'd be a little nervous. I know I should be because Josh Allen's a better runner, bigger athlete, better arm, but I'd be less scared of him if I was on the other team.
I'm telling you, Joe Burrow reminds me of Jim McMahon. And it's all about whatever.
He's feisty.
Nothing phases him. And that's what I think the big strength is. Nothing. He's Joe Cool, no matter what the moment is. I agree with you. I think in the last 2 minutes, you give me Joe Burrow with the ball, I'm fine with it. And also, there's the disappearing Stephon Diggs of the last month. Yeah, I don't know what's happened. If they figured out a way to take him out, if they're just not throwing the ball, if he's hurt, I don't know. But he hasn't done much in a month. No,
there seems to be something going on with that team, and I don't know what it is. And again, that's as they have the best point differential in all of football, and they're 13-3. So,
yeah. But the Bengals have what? 8 out of the last 9?
8 out of the last 9.
I'm not going against them. I'm picking the Bengals tonight.
Indeed. Well, I had no good food this week, sadly, that I can report.
And I'm going to give you my food moment, which is really a dessert moment. And I'm telling you, if you have a Culver's in your area where you live, right now, probably through January, they have a special concrete called the frozen hot cocoa concrete. And it is outstanding. So I would tell you that to run, go get yourself a frozen hot cocoa concrete. Vanilla custard, cocoa powder, whipped cream, outstanding.
Okay.
Other than that, I didn't have any food that I thought was outstanding. I had Jersey Mike's sub today, which I always like. But other than that, nothing major.
No. Yeah, just it's been sad. I got hit with the flu, so I really haven't eaten anything delicious to eat outside of some normal here and there things, but nothing new to exciting to report. And then I've been asleep for half the TV we watch, so I can't tell you a lot about it. But
and then entertainment, I've been watching Under the Banner of Heaven, which you've already seen. and I find it really interesting. It's another one of those basic true crime made into a story. And then I finished watching Three Pines, the Louise Penny series on Inspector Gamache. And I think I talked about it a little bit last week. It's 8 episodes, one storyline throughout all 8, but each arc of 2 has a story that's resolved in 2. And so they're good standalone. They're very well done and very, very entertaining. So I would recommend Three Pines and Under the Banner of Heaven. I would recommend both of those.
Oh, this can be my wrap-up holiday one. After years and years of thinking about it and watching every year, I have determined that for me, Home Alone is by far the best Christmas movie. Just going to throw that out there. With Home Alone 2 still being a top 5 Christmas movie, which is also incredible.
Is there anything in particular that puts it over the top for you?
Well, Macaulay Culkin is just magical. You know, the Wet Bandits eventually become the Sticky Bandits. Again, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern are incredible. You know, you get cameos from John Candy. It's just a funny movie set around Christmas.
Yeah, I would have to say that Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern are probably 2 of the best bumbling bad guys ever.
Yeah, they're right on par. I mean, you could put them in, you know, like Marx Brothers movies and all that kind of stuff. They have that level of awesome.
Yeah, they really played well together.
Camaraderie and silliness.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen, I mean, you know, people are obviously love The Christmas Story, you know, and Die Hard, but I just, you know, on the years that I'm not really into watching Christmas movies, I never miss watching Home Alone. That's the only one that's always there. So that's where that. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Like they say, it's not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls from Nakatomi Tower.
They do say that. It's very true.
It's a nice T-shirt too, by the way.
Yeah. Indeed. Well.
All right, everyone. Watch the game tonight. I think it's going to be a killer. And then enjoy. Jason, maybe we should wait to do the show next week on the 10th after the college football championship game.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's do that so we can talk about that game.
All right.
All right, everyone. Happy New Year.